This program's brought to you by the Virginia Farm Bureau. Large or small, Virginia farmers work year-round to help put food on your table. And Farm Bureau works year-round to help farmers and all Virginians. Farming, it's all good. To learn more, go to vafarmbureau.org.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Virginia Farming. I'm Amy Rocher. This week, we travel to Richmond, where we talk to the owner of Milton's Local and find out how they're supplying restaurants and groceries with quality Virginia-grown meats. Then Mark Viette has tips on attracting birds when we go in the garden. We'll also have the Ag Calendar, a minute in the field, and of course, all your ag news of the week on this edition of Virginia Farming. The USDA has issued primary disaster designations for 4 Virginia counties due to losses caused by excessive rain and flooding that occurred last fall. It was determined that Isle of Wight, Patrick, Southampton, and Surry counties had significant agricultural production losses to warrant a federal natural disaster designation. In addition, the USDA designated the 12 areas that border those counties as contiguous disaster areas. This means farm operators in both primary and contiguous counties can be considered for emergency loan assistance from the USDA's Farm Service Agency as long as they meet eligibility requirements. Those farmers have 8 months from the date of the Secretarial Disaster Declaration to apply for emergency loans. Now, local FSA offices can provide affected farmers with assistance. For more information, visit the web address on your screen and search for Virginia Disaster. Well, Shawnee Canning Company is a family-owned fruit processor. They'll invest nearly $500,000 to expand its operation in Frederick County. The company will rehabilitate its cannery, built in 1947, and double production capacity on site by adding a new filling line for its fruit products. With this expansion, Shawnee Canning Company will create 5 new jobs and commit to purchase 80% or over 300,000 pounds of its fruit from Virginia over the next 3 years. Shawnee's expansion will provide new opportunities for the region's fruit growers and others, thus expanding the economic impact of the company's investment even further into Virginia. Well, a quality reputation can go a long way in any business, and agriculture is no different. In this segment, a communications executive shares advice for cattlemen on defining their public image. The American Angus Association's Bob Cervera has more.
Time can be tricky in the cattle business. Always in need of more time, never enough time. Figuring out what deserves the most attention and when can be a losing battle. But take a few beats to think about the impressions you create every day and how it affects your reputation.
Well, the first thing I will talk about, and the first thing that people need to think about are 3 questions. And they are, what are the people that are most important to you saying about you? What do you want them to say? And then finally, what are you doing to get them to say it?
Schmidt, who once led the Harley-Davidson communications team, says, no matter the business you're in, it's important to be in control of your message.
Who's going to seize this? Who's going to get in front of it? And who's going to own the message that people are talking about a week from now, 6 months from now, a year from now?
For ranchers, it can be many things: land, water, animal welfare issues. But Schmidt says the key is to be the first person to set the tone for all conversations that follow. Build a reputation that includes yourself, your family, and your cattle.
You have to say, I'm not going to wait for somebody else to do this. I have, as a business person, as somebody tied to the Angus industry, as a rancher, as a farmer, as somebody who supplies products into this industry, I have a vested interest in the outcome of this industry. Therefore, I need to be a more vocal advocate for what we do.
Schmidt suggests actions such as writing op-eds for a newspaper, visiting local community groups, and personally calling legislators.
A light is shining on us now. We need to take advantage of this as an organization, as an association, as a business, but also as individuals.
I'm Bob Cervera.
Thanks, Bob. Virginia's Agriculture in the Classroom program has named The Cow in Patrick O'Shanahan's Kitchen, a children's book written by Diana Pritchard, its 2016 Book of the Year. The book encourages young readers to consider how their favorite breakfast foods arrive on their plates. Volunteers will read it in schools across Virginia March 14th through the 31st as part of Virginia's AITC's Agriculture Literacy Project. Now, National Ag Day is March 15th, and the Agriculture Literacy Project will run concurrently with National Ag Week, but has been extended this year. Tammy Maxey, Senior Education Program Coordinator for Virginia AITC, said they expanded from Agriculture Literacy Week to 2 weeks due to its increasing popularity and demand for volunteer readers. Last year, 1,200 volunteers read to more than 50,000 children across the state. Well, beef and bacon are two of several all-natural meats distributed by Milton's Local. Today, we learn how this Virginia company is connecting Virginia farmers to restaurants and groceries, and get some insight as to why this company was named one of Relay Foods' Best of 2015. That's next on Ag Insights. Today we're in Richmond, Virginia, and we're visiting Loving's Produce. And it's a warehouse of sorts for produce, but today we're talking about Milton's Local, which is a meat company that uses Loving's Produce as a warehouse. I'm joined by owner of Milton's Local, James Fasson. James, thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for allowing us to be here.
Well, this is a large facility, and this is only your warehouse, though.
That's correct.
Tell us a little bit about what Milton's Local does.
Sure. So we're all natural meat company. We work with local farmers across the Commonwealth that raise their animals without hormones, antibiotics, or steroids. And we work with them to market and sell their meat and also to distribute their meat.
Okay. Now, how long have you guys been in business?
It's our second year in operation.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And there is a little bit of history behind the name, correct?
Absolutely. The company is named in honor of my grandfather, Milton Faison, who was a second generation farmer. And I actually took a roundabout way as far as getting involved with the company. At the time, I was an attorney, and my grandparents had passed away. And when they passed away, they left us the farms. And like most folks from rural areas, you know, you have farming in your bones, but you sort of step away from it. So this gave me an opportunity with my siblings to come back to farming and sort of use some of the skills that I learned in my law and corporate practice to try to build a company to work with local farmers.
So that brings up another point. Your personal background, you left the farm and went on to law school.
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
So tell us a little bit about that. How is that transition going to law school and then back to working in rural Virginia?
Sure. Very, very different on a day-to-day basis. I get a chance to be in the field more, not be in the office, and really work with people who have completely different skill sets. So a lot of the farmers that we have the good fortune to work with, they're really passionate about what they do, and they've been doing this for generations. You know, their grandfathers were farmers, their great-grandfathers were farmers, and so that's been pretty neat. And it's also been great to use the sort of experience I learned from law about understanding the way things work and understanding how to service clients to make it easier for our farmers and also our wholesale buyers.
Now you talk about wholesale buyers. I kind of envision you as a broker because you take local restaurants and match them up with farmers who can supply them local meat. Is that how that works? How does it work?
Yeah, right. That's fair. That's part of what we do. So we work with local farmers to aggregate and market and sell their products. So let's say you're a farmer and you're an awesome pork producer that doesn't use any hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We work with you to coordinate delivering your product to the processor and then delivering it to us, where we go out and we market it to grocery stores, restaurants, CSAs, in order for them to be able to enjoy your product.
Okay. Well, walk us through the process.
Sure.
You set up with me as a farmer to purchase pork from me.
Right.
What happens between the time you say, okay, we're going to buy your pork product and the time it hits one of your restaurants?
So the first thing we do is we go out with our farm curator and we inspect the farm, really to make sure that we're aligned in values. So no hormones, no antibiotics, no steroids. And we give you what we like to see in our production methods and see if that's a good fit. And if that's a good fit, then we get samples of your product, and we work with our sales associates who contact different restaurants that are committed to sourcing local, all-natural, awesome beef and pork. And then from there, we handle the cold storage, the logistics, the marketing, and the sales.
Okay, so you have another company that actually does the processing.
Right.
And that's all USDA inspected?
Everything is USDA inspected because we sell across state lines, and everything is refrigerated, so we make sure to maintain the cold storage temperature zones throughout the entire process.
Okay. Now, you don't just sell to restaurants, you also sell to groceries?
Yes, grocery stores, CSAs, all sorts of wholesale accounts. What our mission is to support sustainable agriculture by creating channels for for local farmers. So we want to work hard for our local farmers to get them into the biggest avenues available so that it can have a transformative effect on their business.
And what are those big avenues that you service currently?
The biggest in the whole meat industry, they're definitely grocery stores. So our restaurant partners have been great. They're sort of almost celebrity now, so it really helps create a demand for certain cuts. But as far as your day-to-day volume, if you're really going to have a really great impact for your farmers, you have to get them in grocery stores.
Okay. Now, the majority of your grocery stores and restaurants are in
We're
what
in Metro
locations?
Richmond and Metro DC. So Metro Richmond being the city of Richmond and the surrounding suburbs, and Metro DC in the surrounding suburbs. So Northern Virginia, Southern Maryland.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, do you have in your mind how many grocery stores and restaurants you have that you're serving currently?
Yes, so we're currently grocery stores and restaurants. We're servicing, and CSAs, we're servicing over 40 wholesale accounts. So we're very excited about that in just our second year, being able to sort of create value in these venues for our farmers to sell their product. And one thing that we really try to stress is we keep the transparency. So on the actual label is the farm's name, where it's come from, because we really think the farmers work really, really hard, and we want to make sure that people understand where this awesome meat comes from.
Well, and I think that's amazing because that really lets somebody see, hey, this came from Chesterfield.
Absolutely.
I know where that is.
Absolutely.
And it may be they want to even sometime try to visit a farm or
Absolutely.
a farm similar to that in
Absolutely.
the area and expand that education
Right.
on where their food comes from.
Right, and again, our goal is to help farmers. So this is one avenue, but we want the wholesale avenue to supplement if they're doing any direct to consumer, like a farmer's market. So if they see, Joe's farm in a grocery store, in a restaurant, like you said, they may say, hey, I know Joe, I'd like to visit his farm. I'd like to buy from him at the farmer's market. So our number one priority is to really help farmers and to help grow their business.
Well, it sounds like you're doing it right, because it seems like you've grown in the last couple of years.
We have.
And that's amazing. Tell us what kind of meats you offer.
Sure. So right now we do all natural beef and pork. So again, everything is from the Commonwealth of Virginia. Everything is hormone-free, antibiotic-free, and steroid-free. And what we're working at doing now is adding our own private label line of bacon. So again, it's going to continue to be hormone-free, antibiotic-free, and steroid-free, but it's also not going to have any artificial nitrates or nitrites. So we're very excited to have another way to help support our farmers and bring them into grocery stores.
So when you say you're adding bacon,
Yes, ma'am.
but it's not like all of a sudden we're just going to decide to offer it. This has been a whole new undertaking
Yes,
for you.
absolutely. So it really goes back to my grandfather because he was a pork farmer, and so I remember growing up, he had smokehouses on the farm, and so for Sunday dinner, we would have some of his bacon or ham hocks. And so taking those family recipes, but sort of updating it for a clientele that doesn't want some of the artificial stuff in the food. So it's been a long process, but we're really excited to be bringing it to the market soon.
So what makes meats that come through Milton's Local better or more sought after?
The taste. We have the opportunity to work with some amazing farmers who've been doing this for years, and so they really work hard on the production methods to make sure that, number one, is antibiotic-free, hormone-free, and steroid-free, and number two, that the livestock are appropriately cared for. Because generally, if you have happy, well-kept livestock, you have great tasting meat.
Now, how do you find your farmers? How are people learning about you and they're contacting you, or where do you find the farmers to contribute to purchase the meat from?
Sure. Well, great shows like this help. And we're also doing sort of outreach efforts. We sort of partner with ag programs. We do outreach through different distributors, and different processors are really great because they work with the farmers on a day-to-day basis because they process their meat. So they're a really great sounding board to find out who are some of the great farmers in the area who are raising their livestock in an all-natural way.
Now, how many people does Milton's Local employ?
Including myself, it's currently 5 of us.
Okay, so when you say you make these deliveries to Richmond and Greater Washington, did I hear you say that you actually drive the truck to do those deliveries?
I have been driving the truck, yeah, absolutely. So getting a chance to interface with the actual buyers and sort of talk to them about what the farmers that we're fortunate enough to work with, that's been a really neat experience. A tiring experience, but a really neat experience.
Well, I think that's great. That's really hands-on for an owner of a company to be able to get out and do that.
Right.
And then I guess you have some sales people who go out and meet with the restaurants and groceries to say this is what we have.
Exactly. We have sales folks. We have a farm outreach guy who has a lot of years of experience in production agriculture to help with the production protocol. We have an operations guy who helps us do the day-to-day with the loading and the inventory, and then we also have someone who helps us with the financial side and the operation and all the regulatory matters. So it takes a whole team effort, and we're really fortunate to have them.
Well, you guys are doing a tremendous job. I commend you on what you're doing and getting the Virginia product out for even more people to sample. I think it's wonderful.
Thank you so very much. And we're really fortunate to be in Virginia where there's so many great producers here, and the climate and the ecosystem is so diverse that you don't just have to source one thing. You know, they're wonderful pork farmers, beef farmers, turkey farmers, and we just want to work with as many of them as we possibly can.
James, if someone wants information on Milton's Local, where should they go?
You can go to our website, www.miltonslocal.com. You can follow us on Twitter at miltonslocal.com. You can follow us on Facebook at Milton's Local. And please check us out and support some of the great restaurants and grocery stores and farmers who are helping to provide us with their great tasting meat.
And you have a list on that website, don't you, of the restaurants and groceries that you're supplying meat to? So.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having us here today. It was a lot of fun.
It was a real pleasure. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to talk about the great farmers that we get to work with.
Absolutely. We'll be right back. Adding color and interest to your garden this time of year is difficult using only plants, but feeding birds can give your garden life during these winter months. With tips, here's Mark Viette.
Many of us like to enjoy the outdoors during the winter months. A lot of us like to watch birds and other animals maybe in our yard. But on the other hand, we might be kind of shocked when you go out to buy some of these bird seed blends that some can be quite expensive. Beyond that, you have to be very careful. Some of the blends that you see have a lot of things in them that birds don't like. The birds actually scratch some of the big millet, large millet, the milo. These are things that are in the blends to really keep the cost down, but it's of little or almost no value to the birds. A couple things you want to keep in mind. Black oil sunflower is one of their favorites, so I really like to use maybe 80% black oil sunflower, maybe even a little more. Whatever you give your birds, just like for us, it needs to be relatively fresh. If any of the ingredients you're using smell weird or sour or moldy, I recommend, don't feed the birds just like we wouldn't eat it ourselves. This is just some quinoa seed, and I do recommend, instead of using some of these little bags you buy them in with twist stems, you're going to want to, when you're done, put them in Ziploc bags or some type of sealed bag to keep them fresher. So in this case, I'm just going to use, this is like cooking, I don't measure exactly. I'm going to use about 2 or 3 tablespoons, because when you add these special mixes, you're going to get birds like pine siskins, goldfinch, titmice, doves, and depending on where you live, you may get grosbeaks and other birds if you're in some of the colder areas. But we really do get quite a few different types of birds. I sometimes will go ahead and use things like even celery seed. birds love celery seed. And so this was only like, probably 85 cents, but it'll give me, 2 tablespoons of this. This will last me the whole winter. And dill seed at the same time, I will just use dill seed. I'll use about the same amount, 2 or 3 tablespoons. Just mix it, and if you've got kids or family, they can also help. This is fennel seed that was collected from the garden. So you can use a little bit of the fennel seed that they will eat. Then you can get hulled millet. Now this is millet that does not have the hulls. The hulls on it require a little more work for the birds, but this is hulled millet, and you use maybe a little more of this, maybe about a 1/4 cup. And for those of you who really have difficulty measuring, you can have the 1/4 cup right here and put that in there like that. Pumpkin seed. Birds love pumpkin seed. Now sometimes I will take a roller or I will mash the pumpkin seed, and maybe again about a 1/2 cup. So you can just come in like this and use pumpkin seed, because a lot of the birds enjoy pumpkin seed at the same time. Then, if you have any leftover nuts, pecans and things, and it is important that the nuts are somewhat fresh. And in this case, I'm going to take a 1/2 cup. And what I'll do is put it in my hand, and I will crush it. And just crush it in my hand. So you don't have one large bird like a blue jay walk off with it, because again, the titmice really enjoy. Then at the very end, I will just take some uncooked, unsalted peanuts, and sometimes I will crush these too a little bit, but I'll mix this all together and then go in here and completely mix this. And when I'm done, I'll have seed or a blend that is more expensive, at least in its appearance, than anything out there. But for you, it's inexpensive, and the birds are going to love you. It is important not to overfeed the birds. So try to be sure that the birds have cleaned everything before you feed them again. You don't really want to starve them, but you don't want them to cost you needless money. Within 50 feet of where I'm standing, we have close to 12 feeders. Don't be afraid to put all your feeders in a small area. And what you can also do is have a special blend for maybe 2 or 3. This one here just has sunflower. So I just might come in and add a few of those pecans to this feeder. Or I might just decide to come in and pour some of my special blend just out on the feeder, like this. But we have different feeders. We even have suet feeders, so make sure that you give your birds suet. You can make your own suet with your own blend at the same time, or you can purchase it. And I like to use some of the suets that tend to be just a little firmer, but really they will attract woodpeckers, nuthatches, and chickadees. In fact, if your birds really like the blend you make, you can actually get chickadees to come almost and land on your hand to eat the special blend you've just made. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.
Taking a look at the ag calendar, the 2016 Virginia Cow-Calf Conference will be held Thursday, February 25th at the Weirs Cave Community Center. The focus of the conference will be on maintaining profitability and will seek to answer the questions about what the future holds for both feeder and female markets and provide positive action steps to prepare producers for the new market paradigm. Register by Tuesday, February 23rd using the contact information on your screen. That does it for our show. Thanks so much for watching and have a great week. Today I'll leave you with a look at last week's Virginia Farm Show.
From apples to zucchini, Virginia farmers work hard to put food on your table. And Farm Bureau works year-round to help farmers and all Virginians. Farming, it's all good. To learn more, go to vafarmbureau.org.